Coming up on today's edition of Airborne, going back to work at American Airlines. Chuck Yeager's court declaration is ruled a sham, and there's no honor among honor flight thieves. I'm Ashley Hale. Welcome to Airborne on Aero-TV. Well, if you're a furloughed pilot at American Airlines, you had a lot more to be thankful for this past Thanksgiving than just turkey. The airline's Vice President of Flight, Captain John Hale, announced Wednesday, just in time for the holiday, that the airline will begin recalling pilots effective January of 2013. In making the announcement, Hale credited operational needs combined with recent and expected retirements for creating the recall opportunities. He said the airline expects to recall about 40 pilots per month for the foreseeable future. Meanwhile, American Airlines continues to work its way through bankruptcy, and it still must resolve a labor dispute with its pilots union. A new contract would sure make a nice stocking stuffer for Christmas. It's not just anyone who could stand up and call a statement by Chuck Yeager a sham, but a 3-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit in San Francisco, California, has done just that, ruling against the retired general in a publicity lawsuit. The court's ruling was made in a case filed by Yeager against Ed and Connie Bolin, retired commercial airline captains and owners of the website Aviation Autographs, which sells aviation-related memorabilia, including items related to or signed by Yeager. In 2008, Yeager brought 11 claims against the Bolins, including violations of the Federal Lanham Act, California's common law right to privacy, and California's statutory right to publicity. At his deposition, Yeager did not recall answers to approximately 200 questions, including questions central to his own lawsuit, despite attempts to refresh his recollection. Approximately 3 months later, on the same day the Bolins requested a summary judgment in the case, Yeager filed a declaration that contained many of the facts that he allegedly could not remember during his deposition. Because of the tremendous disparity and contradictions between Yeager's earlier deposition and his later declaration, the court ruled the declaration a sham and granted the Bolins' request for summary judgment, a decision Yeager appealed. In ruling against Yeager's appeal, the Ninth Circuit Court judges found that the lower court was correct when it ruled Yeager's declaration a sham, saying that it was implausible that Yeager could refresh his recollection so thoroughly in light of the extreme number of questions to which he answered he could not recall during his deposition. The program director for an organization in Great Bend, Kansas, which raised money to fly World War II veterans to Washington, D.C. to visit the World War II Memorial, has been arrested and charged with 2 counts of theft by deception. Lavita Miller is accused of taking about $110,000 from Central Prairie Honor flights. The AP reports that the group raised over $1.1 million for the flights, but the flights were stopped this year after the money was discovered to be missing. Miller had started administering the program in April of 2009 and became the program manager in April of 2011. About the time the flights were canceled, the National Honor Flight Network severed its relationship with Central Prairie Honor Flights, saying there were issues with reports being filed late and even one veteran being injured on a trip. The group, which oversaw the nonprofit, shut the program in July and fired Miller because it could no longer pay her annual $22,000 salary. That is when the investigation began, which turned up evidence of direct deposits into Miller's personal bank account. Miller is currently free on bond. America's fleet of space shuttles may now be museum relics, but the Air Force says its distant cousin, the SpacePlane, will fly again, probably next month. The shuttle-like X-37B spaceplane was to have launched on its 3rd flight today, November 27th. But after another delay, The new projected launch date is December 11th, according to the United Launch Alliance website. The spaceplane is unique because of its ability to go into orbit, remain there for a year or more, and return to Earth by landing on a runway, rather than simply falling to Earth by parachute as other spacecraft do. That special ability also makes the spaceplane significantly more expensive than other spacecraft. However, despite support from the Air Force, the Union of Concerned Scientists said in a news release recently that while the plane can carry out a range of missions, in each case there are better, more efficient, and more cost-effective ways of accomplishing them. NASA, the Russian Federal Space Agency Roscosmos, and their international partners have selected 2 veteran spacefarers for a 1-year mission aboard the International Space Station in 2015. Tom Patton reports.
The 2 chosen are both veteran spacefarers. NASA has selected Scott Kelly, and Roscosmos has chosen Mikhail Korninko. The pair will launch aboard a Russian Soyuz spacecraft from Kazakhstan in spring of 2015 and will land back in Kazakhstan in spring of 2016. Kelly has logged more than 180 days in space, and Korninko has logged more than 176 days, and the 2 already have a connection. Kelly was a backup crew member for the station's Expedition 23-24 cruise, where Korninko served as a flight engineer. The goal of their year-long expedition aboard the orbiting laboratory is to better understand how the human body reacts and adapts to the harsh environments of space. Data from the 12-month expedition will help clarify current assessments of crew performance and health, and will help in the development of countermeasures to reduce the risks associated with future exploration as NASA plans for extended missions. For Airborne, I'm Tom Patton.
You're watching Airborne. More in a moment, including your chance to buy a piece of aviation and cinema history.
Since its inception, Redbird Flight Simulations has been dedicated to developing new training technologies and processes in an ongoing effort to make aviation safer, more affordable, and more accessible. Consider Redbird's flagship flight training device, the FMX, a superior quality, full-motion, feature-rich advanced aviation training device priced with real-world flight training organizations in mind. With standard features that are anything but standard, such as wraparound visuals, a fully enclosed cockpit, quick change configurations, scenario-based training compatibility, and of course, an electric motion platform, the FMX serves up a level of realism that is simply unavailable in other training devices on the market. For more information on Redbird flight simulations, the Redbird FMX, and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com.
Welcome back. If you'd like to suggest a story for Airborne, Aero-TV, our website, or podcast, drop us an email to news-by@aero-news.net. A near-decade-old missing aircraft cold case has apparently been resolved in New Zealand. Recently discovered wreckage of an aircraft found by New Zealand police is reported to be that of a helicopter that went down in January of 2004, carrying a British woman and her New Zealand boyfriend. The woman was London resident Hannah Trimmings. Trimmings had been on a 6-month backpacking tour of New Zealand when the accident occurred. New Zealand resident Campbell Montgomery was the pilot on the flight. He was flying the helicopter on what was described as a scenic trip from Queenstown, an alpine resort, to a beauty spot on New Zealand's South Island known as Milford Sound, popular with glacier sightseeing tours. The paper reports that the wreckage was recently spotted by another tour helicopter, and an alpine rescue team was sent to the area. That team has confirmed that it is the missing aircraft. Police say that the wrecked aircraft may have been hidden by snow over the intervening years. So you've just completed construction of your Lancair Evolution in Redmond, Oregon, and now it's time to fly home. But home is 13,000 miles away in Pretoria, South Africa. What do? Well, if you're Arnold Pistorius, you hire a professional ferry service, in this case, Elite Pilot Services, to get the aircraft home. EPS was formed specifically to service the growing Evolution ownership with test flying, Phase 1 flying, training, and ferry services. But even for them, this was no joyride. EPS says pilots Bob Jeffrey and David Robinson covered the 13,000-mile journey in just over 60 flight hours. Their route took them through Canada, across the North Atlantic to Switzerland, and on to Spain, and then south along the east coast of Africa. In all, there were 25 landings in 18 countries. They encountered weather conditions ranging from 140-knot tailwinds to icing and thunderstorms. The PT-6-powered Lancair Evolution performed well, with zero maintenance issues for the entire trip. An animal rights group with a beef against the Wing Point Hunting Club in Berks County, Pennsylvania, has been flying an octocopter UAV over the club's property, using a video camera mounted on the aircraft to record the club's pigeon shoots. Earlier this month, the aircraft, which belongs to a group calling itself Shark for showing animals respect and kindness, was fired on and hit, causing an estimated $4,000 worth of damage to the aircraft by the group's estimate. It was not certain if a hunter at the club was responsible for the shooting of the drone. The incident is being investigated by local police. The group says it is the fourth time that the drone has been targeted, while they tried to take video of the pigeon shoots, which the group claim are inhumane. However, the Berks County District Attorney told the station that the pigeon shoots are legal. He said he is looking for a way to end the conflict between the two groups, which he said is potentially deadly. The U.S. Navy has released a draft request for proposal, beginning once again the process of replacing the helicopters which transport the president under the Marine One call sign. The RFP is the first step in the process of acquiring an aircraft to replace the aging fleet of VH-60N Nighthawks and VH-3D Sea Kings, both produced by Sikorsky. According to the Navy draft RFP document, the baseline aircraft from which the VXX will be derived should be certified by the FAA, a recognized civil airworthiness authority with bilateral agreement with the FAA, United States Military Airworthiness Certification Authority, or possess a clear imminent path to such certification if and when any proposals are submitted in response to a formal solicitation. Defense News reports Sikorsky reportedly plans to propose an aircraft built around the S-92 airframe. Boeing could also get into the competition with an aircraft based on the H-47 Chinook, while Augusta-Westland plans to partner with Northrop Grumman and reoffer an aircraft based on the AW101. The final RFP is expected to be released in March of next year, with the contract award projected to come about a year later. The 2013 Pentagon budget includes about $1.85 billion for the program. And now it's time for AVW, the Aero Video of the Week. On our AVW today, you're introduced to the Texas Sport Quick Build Cub that can have you flying in as little as 21 days. You'll find this 7-minute program on YouTube if you search Build and Let Fly. Well, if we had an orchestra, this is where we'd cue up the stirring theme music from the 1985 Oscar-winning movie Out of Africa, to announce the proposed auction of one of the stars of the film, a 1929 American Moth Corporation de Havilland 60 GMW Gypsy Moth. This is the aircraft that was flown in the movie by the character played by Robert Redford. The airplane is offered in excellent condition with a permit to fly. It still wears its yellow and black livery and registration GAAMY, in homage to pioneering English aviatrix Amy Johnson. The DH-60 Gypsy Moth has a 30-foot wingspan and is capable of a maximum speed of 105 miles per hour. The Gypsy Moth will be among the lots on offer at the Bonham sale at the Grand Palais in Paris, February 6th through the 7th in 2013. Bidding is expected to be in excess of $180,000. Get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. And join us again Friday for another edition of Airborne. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching.